Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. These two games released around November 16th of 2018, and these were the very first games to actually have the mainline Pokemon games on the Nintendo Switch. However, the problem with that is they had a lot of backlash because they were the first Switch games. More noticeably because they were trying to get more people into the game. So when they did it, they kind of merged like Pokemon Yellow version for the original like Game Boys and Game Boy Colors and stuff, and then they went ahead and merged it with Pokemon Go because a lot of people really liked Pokemon Go, so they kind of changed the catching mechanic, and old time fans of the game kind of hated that. New people are okay with it. It just kind of depends on where you lie to it. A lot of people don't count these as mainline games, but they were in fact mainline games. So realistically, the big issues that I can see with it, let's say some positives to begin with. Your Pikachu and your Eevee, they are super powerful. They have enhanced stats. They have more moves than ever. You can give them like one of every typing move. It is insane. It does a massive damage. If you are not using a Pikachu or an Eevee on your team, you are at a huge disadvantage. They are just that good in this game, and that's because you can't evolve them, right? That's just how it is. They got to stay how they are. Now, they do follow you. And you could technically have 7 Pokemon in these games, because Pikachu and Eevee are going to stay with you regardless of how many Pokemon are on your party. So you can have 6 on your party, and then you can go ahead and have, Pikachu on your shoulder. So you technically have 7. So you're breaking all of the laws of the Pokemon universe, realistically. But, it's got a lot more positives because you can see your Pokemon in the overworld. It's the first time they've done that. You can catch whatever you see. Shiny Pokemon are in the overworld, so you can actually find, like, starters as well, like a Charizard. You can find a shiny black Charizard just flying above the grass over in one of the cities, just because. You don't have to go on like routes every time when you beat the game. You can actually just fly over them if you wanted to. That also lets you go higher in the sky, so you can find more bird type Pokemon or like Aerodactyl and stuff like that. So it's got those. Now, my main issue with the game is the catching mechanic, but it's not because it has the catching mechanic of Pokemon Go. No, so my issue is it's so finicky to try to catch any Pokemon that you'll start throwing balls like 60 yards to the west or, 200 yards to the east, and it's just hard to hit the Pokemon. And then they try to move and stuff, and that just makes it almost impossible. To the point where people play this in TV mode, they will turn on a second player controller to get added help to catch the Pokemon, and that's just annoying. If I remember, I'll try to have some footage of me trying to catch Articuno in our Let's Go Pikachu Let's Play over on the Stacked Deck channel, but that was just insane. I don't know what, it was just insane. I hated it. It was like rage quittingly frustrating, and it's just that, like, is that the biggest issue? Probably. That's probably the only real issue. The actual catching mechanic itself is pretty cool. Like, everyone likes Pokemon Go. Like, you're not battling wild Pokemon, but at the end of the day, you still battle the main ones. Like, you still battle the legendary birds. You still have to battle Mewtwo. You can't just throw a ball at him. You have to fight him and actually make him faint first, and then you have the opportunity to, catch him. In a way, that is technically more realistic to the actual anime than anything else. However, they don't have these issues on the handheld mode. If you play on the Switch Lite, you don't have to like try to aim the ball and have to deal with the connectivity issues. It just throws the ball forward when you think you have a good timing to hit it. You just hit A button and then it throws the ball, and it hits them every single time. Now, if you throw it too fast, oh man, maybe you didn't get the bonus, maybe you just got an okay kind of score. But you wait a second and then you throw it when it's about to be in the inner circle. Oh man, now you got a perfect throw. You got a boosted catch rate, and you don't have to deal with all the motion control BS. And that's kind of the best way to play it. Unfortunately, that's not what I get to do because I'm recording on a TV and I play most of my Switch games on the TV. So I have to deal with the massive annoyances that are there, and it sucks, really. It had the good opportunity, and then they decided not to go with it. And that's kind of, shitty. Because you could have just toggled it, right? It could have just been a toggle switch. Hey, do you want to play with motion controls? No. Okay. Or, how about this? Instead of a toggle switch, oh, we see you're playing in docked, or like but you're using a Pro controller. We disable the controls. That's great. Awesome. Now, they did have a little Pokemon Go Plus little Pokeball looking thing that you can use for this. It's okay. It's not the greatest. It's a little annoying to mess with, but it was supposed to come with Mew. You know, it comes with Mew. That's amazing. It comes with Mew. I bought one on release, but I didn't use Mew. I wanted to save it, and I didn't use the controller. I wanted to save it for when I did a Let's Play of it on YouTube. So, I beat the game a couple times, never used the controller. Controller stayed in the box. Now, I went ahead and opened the box, and I plugged it in to play on the game. I turn it on, and it says, no Mew found. Apparently, that thing either has like some type of expiration date, or if you don't open the game fast enough, it's just going to, you know, not work. Now, it could have been like that because, you know, the game came out in 2018. And I did the Let's Play of it in 2024. But if I didn't use my Mew that's in the goddamn controller, it should have stayed in a goddamn controller, right? I think that is the entire point. If I open a brand new controller that I just now bought, even if I bought it 10 years ago, I expect everything that's supposed to be in the controller to be in the controller. If I buy a brand new Xbox controller tomorrow and I decide not to open it for a year, I'm not expecting it to have missing analog sticks. That is not the point. And yes, it's a digital thing or whatever. And yeah, they have codes and events that expire in Pokemon all the time. But goddamn, this is not a code. This is not any type of event thing. This is just you were supposed to have it in the Pokeball. So that's a little annoying personally for me. But you know, that is what it is. So I was really excited because I wanted to play every Pokemon game and I wanted to have a Mew on my team for everyone on my YouTube. And then I get it, and then no. You can't have Mew for Let's Go Pikachu. Oh, well, shit. I could risk it and buy another Pokeball, but those things still cost $60 because they're a fucking controller. And I might also not be able to have a Mew. So, either that or just move forward with the game without it. Now, you can transfer like a Mew into Pokemon, except you can't because you have to beat the game first before you can transfer anything in from Pokemon Go, or damn near beat the game. So, it kind of defeats the purpose of having a Mew from the beginning. As my starter, I think. And that's kind of, you know, that kind of sucks. But let's get back into positive stuff. Oh, and the game corner is gone. You can't freaking gamble. That damn bullshit. But other than that, okay, let's talk about positives. Let's talk about positives. Because we were just going a little bit of negatives there. So positives. It looks fantastic. It actually looks pretty good. I like the designs. I like the looks. It runs better than Sword and Shield. It runs better than Scarlet and Violet. But damn near it has to run better than them. If this would have came out when in the condition that Scarlet and Violet came out, holy shit, the Switch would not be as popular as it is now. This is Pokemon. They're already getting backlash from Scarlet and Violet, but people are still playing it because it's Pokemon. If the very first Pokemon games on Switch came out, people would just not buy the Switch. If that is the entire purpose of them buying the Switch. A lot of people who bought the Nintendo handheld specifically for Pokemon. That is all they bought it for. So if any of those were trash, that would have been a terrible mistake. But luckily here, it looks pretty good. We got some little back stuff right here. You know, it's cool. It's decent. And they got some little extra benefits if you play this game and then you go on to other games. So let's talk about the little benefits you get. Now, if you have Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu on your save file, like on your Switch, if you have just a save file of it, maybe not your account, just in any account. Any account has the Let's Go Pikachu save file. In Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you get a Pikachu iPhone case. Sweet. Same thing with Eevee. If you have Let's Go Eevee save data on Scarlet and Violet, you get an Eevee iPhone case. That's pretty decent. You know, you if you really like Eevee and you really want to be like Penny, you can have an Eevee case or a Pikachu case. That's awesome. Now, instead of it being like version exclusive stuff, let's talk about if you just have Let's Go or Pikachu or Eevee save data on your Switch. So if you go to Pokemon Sword and Shield and, well, actually, yeah, if you have Let's Go Pikachu on your Switch save data, you'll get a Gigantamax Pikachu in Sword and Shield. Same thing, if you get Let's Go Eevee save data on your Switch, you will get a Gigantamax Eevee in Sword and Shield. Now, you can get these pretty early. They are at the train station of the very first city that you walk into next to your house. You could just get them. Now, you can't evolve them because there is no Gigantamax version of like Raichu or Vaporeon or anything. But these guys are there. I think if you try to evolve them, it says something like, oh, you've Fate decide, like Fate thinks this is a bad idea or something weird. I don't know. Or Pikachu just says, yeah, I'm good, bro. But that's pretty cool. You know, if you want to use them again for some reason. Pikachu is actually a better Pokemon than Raichu in a lot of the games. If you give it the little electric ball thing. But that is just what it is. Eevee, I don't know on the other hand. Eevee's kind of, it doesn't have an item like that unless it's like Eviolite. But that's still not going to be as good. Because electric is still a good typing. You can still fight stuff like water types and flying types. Normal type can't be super effective really on anything. And you can give it other moves, but it's not going to be like, you know, it's not going to have stab. It's the same type attack bonus than it would if it just like, if it was the actual like Sylveon itself, or Umbreon, or Espeon, or Flareon, whatever have you. So you got those issues. Now let's go to the actual game specific. So after Sword and Shield, you got Brilliant Diamond and Shiny Pearl. If you have Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, either one on your Switch, congratulations, you get my favorite Pokemon of all time. In Brilliant Diamond, they give you a freaking Mew. And Shiny Pearl, they give you a Mew as well. So you just get a Mew for having these two on your Switch. As opposed to Pokemon Sword and Shield, which if you have those on your Switch, Brilliant Diamond Shiny Pearl just gives you a freaking Jirachi. So that's a cool way to get those two mythicals. You just get them for free. And they are pretty early. They're around the second gym badge. So you're good. It's like it's the flower town or whatever you go to. There's a couple sitting as soon as you walk in and they give it. Let's see. I think Legends Arceus gives you an iPhone case or something weird like that. I don't know. I don't remember. But those are kind of like the bonuses you get for having these games on your Switch. Now, these games, like, they have 151 Pokemon in it. You're not going to be able to complete it because, you know, unless if you get the Pokeball that has a Mew in it. You can get 150 of them, though. Everything up until Mewtwo is in the game, so that's pretty cool. You have to buy both versions, of course. One has a Persian, one has an Arcanine. It's just what it is. That's just how they are. So you do have to deal with that. It is easy to shiny hunt, though. Shiny hunting is like easiest it's ever been. You just walk in and out the door a million times after you encounter like 40 Pokemon, and you're going to run into a lot of shinies. That's what people do. Like, so if you don't know anything about shiny hunting, but you want to learn how to shiny hunt, Let's Go. Let's Go is probably going to be your game right there. Now we can also talk about some more issues, really. Abilities and held items are not in this game. So, you know, your Pikachu's not going to have static or whatever. It's just, so anything that hits him is not going to get paralyzed. And then you also have your, like, so those abilities aren't in the game. And then you can't give it held items. So even if you had an Electro Ball thing, you couldn't give it to him. Even if you had an Eviolite, you couldn't give it to Eevee. They just simplified it by like, yeah, no, we're not going to give you items and we're not going to give you abilities. We want to make this as easy as possible for anyone who doesn't know Pokemon to put it in. I don't see the point of that. I don't think it was needed to be taken out. Let's talk about, you know, Pokemon Yellow, Red, Blue, Gold, Silver, Hoenn with Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, and all that stuff. How many people know that stuff is in the game? Like, how many people know what the abilities are of the Pokemon? How many people know what held items to give? How many people knew you could give a Pokemon a held item? I'm not thinking about, like, of course you're going to know now. You're like, I've played Pokemon for 20 years. I know to put a held item on a Pokemon. Well, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about, remember when you were, like, your first time you ever picked up Pokemon Sapphire and you never played a Pokemon game before. Pick up Pokemon Sapphire, you put it in the Game Boy Advance. And then you go ahead and go play Pokemon Sapphire. How many of you did you know was like, oh man, I should check the summary to see the nature of the Pokemon, to see if it has a special attack boost or if it has a speed downgrade, see if it's a physical or a special attacker, or to see like what charcoal item or leftover should I put to give the Pokemon an advantage? And what is my IV and EV spread? 6-year-old little you on a Pokemon Sapphire for the first time didn't know shit. Let's be real, that you didn't know that. It was in the game. It was in the game. You didn't know that. Did it affect how you played? No. Because you did the same thing every kid did. Oh man, I'm gonna use my starter for 7 gym badges. I'm not gonna use anything else, and then I'm gonna have a level 10 Pidgey with me. And I'm gonna run into the Elite Four. And I'm not going to be able to get anything killed. Or I'm going to one-shot everything. And I didn't give him a held item. I just have a level 96 freaking Bulbasaur. And I'm just going to sweep everybody. That's all you knew. You didn't know if you needed like any abilities or anything. All you knew is you had a starter. You only used your starter. And your starter ended up being super over-leveled and one-shot everything. You didn't need to know its EVs or IVs. You didn't need to know its abilities or summary or competitiveness. You just did it. this game is like, oh yeah, we're just not going to let, like, they could have just not told you. People who knew Pokemon would know to do that. People who had no idea about anything about Pokemon wouldn't have. And it wouldn't have affected the game. They would have picked up an item and be like, oh, what is, a toxic orb? I don't know. That seems kind of weird. And then they would have moved on. That's just, I still do that in video games. Like, I'll go play Pokemon. I'll play Pokemon Violet. And I'll pick up, oh man, I got, X defend. Why would I do that? I don't need that. I am just going to ignore it. Whatever. I still do that to this day. Now, I'm not playing a lot of Nuzlockes or anything, so I don't use X items, and that's just what it is, right? Now, I know what stuff like Leftovers is, but sometimes I pick up something stupid and I don't know what it is. I didn't get into, like, building competitive Pokemon until Scarlet and Violet. Or no, I guess technically it would be like Ultra Sun and Moon. Then I stopped doing competitive stuff, and then I picked it back up in Scarlet and Violet. But before that, like, I always picked up the wings. Like, oh, we got Smart Wing, whatever, Carbos. Okay. Or if I got something like HP up, it's like, oh man, Bulbasaur's my favorite Pokemon on my team. I'll give him HP up. I didn't build out the actual stat values that I needed to do. That's what people do on here. If they had that stuff on there, they would just do it. Or they would just ignore it. It doesn't matter. So, that's kind of the issues with that. But it is a simpler way to do it. And I don't think it really affected anybody. I think everybody still just loved this game. Oh, and it's got multiplayer. So you got your, like, multiple people. I touched on that a little bit. But yeah, so you can just go on there and you can have your buddy drop in. And then they use part of your team, and then they can, like, catch stuff. You can make everything like a double battle or whatever. You can make everything like a double catch, which is, like, basically, you could do it too because you only need one Joy-Con. So if you had two in your hand, you could throw them both, and it'll, like, do some special bonus catch rate thing. A lot of people just did it for, different things like wild Pokemon or legendaries and stuff like that. But like, if you didn't do that, they still have a chance to run. And that's kind of the biggest issue, is like if you run into a shiny Pokemon and it runs away from you, that's kind of screwed up. But other than that, I think they are phenomenal games. Now, I wouldn't think that they're like my favorite or anything, like realistically. I just think they are really good. Now, I'm going to bring, like, let's talk about how many times I beat this game. I brought up a spreadsheet. I have it on an activity log. I log everything I beat and what percentage I beat it. I beat, let's say, let's go Pikachu. I beat 100%. I got all the items. I did all of the stuff and all of that. Fantastic. All right. So I bought a Switch 1. I beat Let's Go Pikachu. Let's Go Pikachu 100%. I beat Let's Go Eevee 100%. Skip forward. I bought No LED. I beat 100% of Pikachu. I got 100% of Eevee because save files don't go in the cloud. Now I started the YouTube stuff and I 100% Let's Go Pikachu again. And I 100% on a Switch Lite. Okay, so I beat it multiple times. I beat this once. Now, when it comes down to it, if we look at this, for my YouTube Let's Play, I 100% every item. I grabbed everything on it. And then, after the Let's Play, I went and I picked up every single Pokemon and completed a full Pokédex. Other than the Mew, because it wouldn't give me it, which is bullshit. Alright, so, 100%ing that. It took 21 hours, 53 minutes and 35 seconds. 100% Let's Go Pikachu, which is going to be basically exactly the same as Let's Go Eevee. Now, that's pretty decent, 21 hours. If you want to run through the game, you could probably beat it in 15. I think that's cool. Let's talk about, like, what would I give Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee realistically? If we're going to go ahead and talk about that, I would have to, like, let's see. For the mechanics with them throwing the controller is going to take it down a couple points, just because it is that infuriating that it has to get reduced in review. The stuff is pretty good. There's less Pokemon in this game, but it's supposed to be specifically Kanto, so I am more okay with that. That is fine. Would I buy a Let's Go Johto? If it was like a Let's Go Pichu, Let's Go Togepi? Yes, I would. And then, does the abilities and held items affect the game that much? No, not to the point where it outweighs anything else. I do like the shiny Pokemon in the overworld. Later on in games, they kind of mixed them, so you have overworld and wild encounters. But this is all overworld. I do like that more. I do like the shiny stuff more in this game than I do in, like, Scarlet and Violet. Although Legends of Arceus is where they did shinies the best. So overall, this game, both games, because they're basically the same game, I would have to give it a 7 out of 10. So on my scale, a 1 is fucking unplayable. A 10 is near perfect. Every game of this genre should be compared to it. A 5 is average. It's just okay. So this is a 7. So it's above average. It is actually a good game. So basically, like 10 being amazing, 9 being, fantastic, 8 being great, 7 being good. Yeah, I had to give this a 7 out of 10. I do play it again. I play it every once in a while. I will play it in handheld mode if I have the choice, though. And it's just something nice to kind of chill out with. You could sit on here for hours and just do the same thing over and over in Shiny Hunt. It's just easy to do it. It's less annoying than having to go to route encounters. You just go in and out. And you could just mindlessly do this while you have other stuff playing in the background. And it's kind of fantastic for that. So 7 out of 10 is my final score. Let me know, did you guys like this game? Is this your least favorite or your favorite Pokemon games? It'd be interesting to hear from y'all. I'm gonna see you later. Don't forget to game like a god. Peace.